Good morning, everyone, and welcome to a beautiful Tuesday morning on Next Top Agent. Today's topic is the winning offer playbook, and we will get into that in just a minute or two. Before we do, I want to make a couple of announcements. First off, this is our first continuing education event heading into the New Jersey deadline. Those of you that are licensed in New Jersey, um, you need to complete your continuing education by April 30th, 2025. So we are going to get started in August with continuing education summer school. If you're in New Jersey, if you're near Cherry Hill, I hope you'll join us. On August 27th and 28th, we will be covering all 12 credits required to renew your New Jersey license. In addition to that, if you are licensed in Pennsylvania, you are going to get 12 of the 14 credits needed to renew a Pennsylvania license. So agents licensed in both states, this is a great opportunity to all in one sitting, bang them out at once. You'll take no tests. You'll get a great couple of classes from me. We have some other terrific instructors. No tests required. If you've ever been to one of our events, you know we give you lots of good food. And then we always follow it up with what we call the graduation party, which is dinner and an open bar. And for those of you that have been to my office, we have a classroom here in the building. And that classroom adjoins a brewery. How dangerous is that? I've got a brewery in the same building where my office is. I swear I don't visit it every night, but I do visit it after the CE classes. So please come out, join us, knock out all your credits over 2 days, and enjoy the graduation party, dinner, and open bar. And it's all just for $69. So a terrific deal for anyone and everyone that needs to renew their New Jersey New Jersey or their Pennsylvania license. So anyway, and by the way, it's not just for people licensed in both. If you're licensed in just one state, either just PA or just New Jersey, you are definitely invited too. That's where we are. For those of you that know the geography of South Jersey, here's 295. Here's Route 70. Here is our office at the Mechanical Brewery, just off, I guess that's exit 34 of 295. Never really paid attention, but the Route 70 exit. So if you are on the Pennsylvania side, we are just 10 minutes from all of the Philly bridges, the Walt Whitman, the Ben Franklin, the Betsy Ross, the Tacony. So it's super easy access for people who are located in Pennsylvania. Okay, so let's get on with Next Top Agent, and we go by this guiding principle. Whoop, up, two of them popped up. First off, you as a real estate agent, you are in business for yourself, but you are not in business by yourself. We host these classes. We make a lot of other resources available to you, and they are to help agents generate more leads. I love to quote Gary Keller. I know some of you may not, you're not all Keller Williams agents, but Gary Keller has always said we are in the lead generation business, and we are. If our phones don't ring, if the emails, the texts with inquiries about buying homes, about getting mortgages don't come in, we're out of business. So these classes are geared to help you generate more leads. They then are there to help you close the leads that you generate. And that's very much what this class is going to be about today. How to bring value to your buyer and actually help get your buyer under contract and get to closing. And of course, I am helping you. So I do hope that you will consider helping me. Please think of who you have. What buyers do you have that either aren't pre-approved, that have mortgage questions, maybe have a pre-approval with a lender you're not so sure about? I would love to talk to those people. And I always like to say this, if you have been to the CE class, if you're here on this Zoom, then what you see on this Zoom in my classes is what your buyer gets. They get educated, they get comfortable with the process. It's terribly important for people to feel comfortable. It helps them trust you more and follow your guidance more. And as we'll see, it's going to play a big role in what we are calling the winning offer playbook. So please send me your people. Let me help. I can, help me to help you. I really can. And hopefully you'll see that as we go through this. I would also like to point out that I'm using some new graphics here. Harris, if you're on the line, yes, I have branded it with the team. This over here is Harris Sheckman, my business partner, and together we are the local lending pros, powered by Green Tree Mortgage. So it's a great thing for you because there's two of us here available. I tend to be the math geek, and Harris tends to be the guidelines geek when it comes to structuring deals and getting every possible home buyer approved for a mortgage. Working together, we're just so much more powerful. But it's also two people to answer the phones. So we've got it covered. We are here evenings, weekends, whenever folks are shopping for a home. We're here to help answering questions, crunching numbers, getting pre-approvals out. Pre-approvals you can rely on. So, okay, enough about us. Let's talk about the winning offer playbook. And actually, give me a moment because I got to open the chat. I don't have my chat open so I can see. So as we go, the rules typically are feel free to unmute and ask a question as we go. We keep it pretty open forum. If you don't want to unmute, you can always put your question in the chat. I'll try to keep an eye on the chat as we go. Bear with me. Just got to set up a few things here on my end. Okay. So the winning offer playbook, trivia question. As we start, can anyone name that play that is diagrammed right there? And this is, yes, offer accepted. It's not the offer accepted play, but that'll, I'll give someone extra credit if they can answer the question a little later on. So as we do this, we're going to talk about the plays, the strategies, the tactics that you can deploy to improve the odds of getting your offer accepted. And we're going to look at both the market perspective, how does your offer look from the perspective of the market? And then we're going to talk about the individual perspective. What can we do to help your buyer as an individual craft that offer that increases their odds of getting accepted? All right. From the standpoint of the market, and please, I'd like to hear from all of you. You're out there in it a lot more so than I am. I'm a bit of a desk jockey. I sit here and I do my pre-approvals. But at the end of the day, I kind of see secondhand, all right, an offer is being made. How many offers are coming in? There's 5, there's 10. There was an open house. There was 32 people came through. But from my perspective, I'm still seeing that it's still a seller's market. The sellers are still calling the shots. It seems to be changing a little bit more within the city of Philadelphia, that it's becoming more balanced, but in the suburbs, Bucks County, Montgomery County, Burlington, Camden counties, it seems like it is still very much a seller's market, though not quite so as extreme as it has been. So with the sellers calling the shots, that means that if a house is appealing, it's going to draw multiple offers. The multiple offers are out there. Look, sometimes it's all in one shot. Very often they say, hey, we got 5. Let's drop back for a moment. Let's call for the highest and best. And this is, and I love this concept of highest and best. And really, even if they don't call for highest and best, you're making an offer on a house, and you know that there's multiple offers coming in based on the intel, based on the number of showings that the house is getting, based on the traffic that came through the open house, this past weekend. You can sense if there are going to be multiple bids. And the seller is going to look for whether they formally call for, hey, give us your highest and best, or they're simply looking at, we got these 4 offers, which one's, highest and best. And really it's which one is best. Because the fact of the matter is that the highest may not necessarily be the best. Okay. And that's the market perspective. And this is what we're going to talk about. Look, clearly you have to, be high enough, but you may not necessarily need to be the highest to be the best. And we're going to talk about all the other terms and all the preparation that we do of your buyer getting them ready to make the best, which may be the highest, but maybe not. Maybe not necessarily the highest. All right. So what does it take to be the best? Well, one of the things is, and obviously this is please consider that I'm coming from a very biased perspective here. Financing matters in being the best. And, obviously, if no financing is needed, that's viewed favorably. So the question is out there, why is cash preferred? And I think the short answer is it seems like the sure thing. All right. Cash is more of a sure thing. There's no underwriter denying your cash. Okay. You don't have to worry about appraisal. You don't have to. Well, you do probably have to worry about title. No, you'd be a cash buyer would be a fool to buy something with a clouded title. But you have fewer things to worry about. It's closer to a sure thing. Then the question becomes this, and this is really more higher than best. What's that sure thing worth? Okay. How much of a discount can a cash buyer get because they're cash? How much higher than a cash offer do you need to be with a mortgage to win the bid? And the short answer here is 10%. I'm going to refer you to, if this link will open. That's the one. Oh, here we go. I was going to say it's the one thing I didn't do this morning is test my internet. Here we go. So this was Open Door, and this was in 2021. So the survey's a little bit old, but they went through and basically, and you can see a bunch of numbers here, 15%, 25%. The conclusion basically is at the end of the article, and I'll be happy to send you a copy of that. The conclusion at the end of the article, at the end of the survey, is that effectively cash is worth 10%. So a cash offer that's 10% lower on average than a mortgage, an offer with a mortgage, will get accepted. On average, an offer with a mortgage needs to be on average 10% higher than a cash offer in order to get accepted. Now that said, those are the averages. And what this class is about, okay, the winning offer playbook is really about, number one, improving your odds, and number two, closing this gap. And you can close it. And we'll talk about it, because just because it's cash doesn't mean that the rest of the terms, financing, is really just one piece of an overall offer. And the other terms in that offer can be worked with, and you can close the 10% gap. I don't think you'll ever close it all the way, but you can close it considerably. And what it does is this. When you're able to improve the odds that your offer is getting accepted, what it means is, number one, your buyer is likely to get the house a little bit less expensively. Okay. This effectively, this 10% discount that cash gets is the discount for a sure thing. The things that you do from a financing perspective, from an agent, we're going to talk about talking yourself up as an agent who successfully gets their buyers to closing. All those things that you do are closing that gap. They're closing that 10% gap. So maybe you don't have to go as high to win the offer. So you're saving your buyer some money, potentially. And look, the NAR world is coming. The world where we have to have the buyer agency agreements, where buyers may be coming out of pocket to pay your commissions. You have to show value, and this is a way that you can do it. This is I cannot emphasize enough how terribly important this is. The next thing is your time. You may be making a little bit less as a buyer agent under the terms of the NAR settlement. And as a result, you need to be able to get your deals to closing with less effort, with less time. So if you are improving the odds that your offers are getting accepted, That's fewer houses that you have to show. That's less time, less money, more efficient, more profitable. So please take these things to heart. And I'd love to hear from you as agents that are out there. What are you doing? What are you seeing? I'm going to show you a few plays from the playbook, but if you've got one, by all means, please share it with us. I'd love for this to be a group discussion. Incidentally, I still haven't heard anyone tell me what famous play is diagrammed right there on the chalkboard. Watch in the chat. Did someone was someone about to speak up? I thought I heard a voice. I don't. Okay. So let's talk a little bit more about being the best. And we touched on this with the last slide. Other terms matter. It's not about necessarily just being the highest. There are other terms that go into your offer that can make it the best. All right. One of them, I got to tell you, is closing date. Okay. And I think it's really important for people to be flexible on closing date. And we are going to talk a little bit later on about the individual perspective and things that the individual can do to help improve their odds. And we're going to talk about be prepared. Get your loan officer. Look, I hope your loan officer's me, but if it's not, whoever your loan officer is, coach your buyers. Whatever the loan officer is asking for, get it to them. Make sure they have a complete file, a fully underwritten file, a file that can get to closing quickly. Because part of the winning offer playbook is you've got to, number one, be able to get to closing quickly if that's the demand of the seller or the want of the seller, if that has value to the seller. But hey, sometimes it's get to closing whenever. We're going to sell this house, but on the other end of that, we have to find acceptable housing, adequate housing, and be flexible if the seller needs that flexibility to find their housing so that they don't have to move twice, put their stuff in storage, stay with a family member for a period of time. If you can be flexible on closing date, that is a term that can really, really improve, that can make your offer a lot more attractive. All right. I want to talk about this. And again, this is, we're going to cover it more when we talk about the individual, but I have had a couple of situations where this has happened. An offer is made. Okay. We don't win. Whatever place we came in, second place, third place. Oh, there was a cash offer. We had a cash offer and it was $5,000 more than yours. Yikes. Okay. That was hard to compete with. But guess what? Cash offers are not a sure thing. Okay. And cash offers can fall through. Any offer can fall through. It can be, the lawyers can't agree on some term. There's a home inspection issue. Any one of a number of things can cause a deal to blow up and it comes back on the market. And at least 2 times in the last few months, I have had this happen. We lost the initial bid. The house came back on the market. When the house came back on the market, I will usually, with every offer, and we'll talk about this, I will make a call to the listing agent just to let them know we're ready to go. Fully underwritten file. You will not be delayed because of mortgage. Okay. We'll be ready when you're ready, however fast, however long it takes. And when I have that conversation, a deal has fallen through and now they're going to the second, third place and they're calling for offers again. I will always ask, what was the closing date? What was that offer you accepted? When was that supposed to close? Because I know that when people, once they go under contract and set that closing date, they start to make arrangements. They've arranged for their movers. It's a new job in another city. They've informed their employer, I'll start the following Monday and so on and so forth. So that closing date becomes really important. And on at least 2 occasions in the last few months, we won when that house returned to the market because I asked, what was the original closing date? And it was only, 2-3 weeks from when we were speaking. And I said, look, if the buyer's willing, I can close on that day. If we can honor that closing date and your sellers don't have to alter a thing, would you take our offer? And they usually do. And this is, closing date is extremely important. It's an extremely important term of the loan, of your offer, that can be the difference between winning and losing. Again, no one thing we're going to talk about here today is a silver bullet. No one thing here we're going to talk about is a magic potion. But taken together, there are a series of steps that each one makes your offer a little bit more attractive. And each one is tipping the odds in favor of your offer getting accepted. And over the long run, you're going to get more offers accepted, which means you sell more houses with less effort. So again, Philly special. Someone put it up. Absolutely. That is, I am a diehard Eagles fan. I think I have a T-shirt and a baseball hat with this diagram on it. I loved it so much. So, all right. So being the best, inspection waivers. And this is one I have to tell you, I just feel so much like there are properties with issues for sale right now. They're, sellers know it. Sellers know they can kind of push buyers around and get them to swallow the issues. And as if you've ever been through my CE classes, one of the instructors, Dave Sulak, always says, when you buy the house, you buy the problems. And yes, a lot of sellers are saying, hey, buy it, inspections waived. You're buying my problems. Sometimes there's good reason for it. It's an estate, what have you. But it's a foreclosure, but inspection waivers, and this is a discussion for you to have with your buyer as to whether it's advisable, to waive the home inspection, waive the CO, waive the appraisal. All those are a discussion. And incidentally, we do get a lot of situations where we as a lender are able to waive the appraisal. And I'll tell you a story because it relates to the Eagles. It's October, November last year, and Eagles are playing. My phone rings. And of course, yes, I'm always putting it out there. I answer my phone evenings and weekends. I really struggle sometimes when that phone, I'm watching it ring and the Eagles are on. But there was like 30 seconds left in the half. I picked it up. I took the call. Someone was making an offer, and we went over some numbers for about 5 minutes or so. I gave a call to the listing agent who expressed to me some concerns about the appraisal. So fine, I'm skipping the halftime show. I paused the TV. I said, look, if I can get an appraisal waiver, would you take this offer? And incidentally, what I'm doing there, just from a sales perspective, is a little bit of what we call the sharp angle close. I'm saying if I can deliver this one thing, if I can deliver it, do we have a deal? They said yes, and they could have backed away. We eventually got it. I said, hey, look, if I can get an appraisal waiver on this, will you accept this deal for these buyers? And they said, yeah, I think so. So great. I got on my computer, and this is a strong buyer, someone with a good credit score, someone making a down payment of 20% or more. If I put all their data, including the address of the house, the proposed sale price, I feed it all through Fannie Mae's computer and or Freddie Mac's computer. They have these computer programs that underwrite files, known as the desktop underwriter and the loan product advisor, respectively. And those computer programs will oftentimes give an appraisal waiver. So yeah, TV's on pause. Away I went. I put all the data in. I run it through the computer, and lo and behold, I get the appraisal waiver. I call the buyers. I say, hey, look, here's the deal. They said they'll do it with an appraisal waiver. Will you accept the waiver? I mean, they have to agree to for the house not to be appraised. They're fine with it. I let the seller know, and we have a deal. So you can, at times, and you should ask your lenders if you've got a buyer who's strong, who's making a down payment, 20% or more. Theoretically, you can get a waiver with less than 20% down. You seldom see it. But 20% or more down, you can oftentimes get the appraisal waiver even though there's a mortgage. Again, it doesn't happen every time. The computer in the background is running something known as the Home Value Explorer. Think of it as sort of the Zestimate on steroids. And if the agreed to sale price on the house is, within the tolerance, within what the computer's brain thinks is the value of the house, then you'll get that waiver. Okay. And I will tell you that the thing is quite smart. Sometimes when I'm like, why did I not get that waiver? We then start to find out things like there were open permits and whatnot. And somehow that computer knows. It's really, it's a little spooky sometimes. Anyway, think about all the terms. I know you guys do this, but think about all the terms of your loan, pardon me, of your offer, and how those are going to, again, inch you closer to being the best without necessarily being the highest, inch you closer to closing the gap if there's a cash offer out there. How much better than that cash offer do you need to be to win the deal? And it's not all dollars. It can very much be some of these other terms. Cash offers can oftentimes come in with, we're not waiving a home inspection, you're going to pay for the CO. We're going to appraise it. We're going to do all these things because we feel like we can call the shots because we're a cash offer. And with some of these terms, you can start to close that gap. Okay. And contingencies, obviously. And we'll talk about contingent offers. Let me just talk about it here for just 1 second. There are a lot of things that we as a lender can do to eliminate contingencies. One of my favorites and the one of the least expensive things to do to get that contingency waived is if your buyer has a house to sell before they buy, set them up so that they can, access the equity in the house they're selling without necessarily selling it. Okay. And by that, I mean, what I like to do is I like to have people, before they put the house on the market, go to your bank or talk to us, if you like. We have outlets for these things, and establish a home equity line of credit. If your house is going to sell for 450 and the mortgage is $200, then you probably have 180 to $200,000 of equity that you can draw out. You pull the equity out in the term form of this home equity line, and you use it as the down payment on the house that you're buying. And so long as you, as the seller, or pardon me, as the buyer, are willing to accept the risk that you might be carrying, two mortgages plus the home equity line for a month or two, and as long as you qualify carrying those debts, then you can go in non-contingent. And the reason I do like to set it up this way, and there's a bunch of other non-contingent strategies as well. Look, one of my favorites is if you have a big 401k, you can borrow against your 401k and then pay yourself back. You don't need me at all. But you borrow that money, you use it as the down payment, but you don't necessarily have to. It's there, it's available. You've got your house up for sale. You just went under contract to buy this. Maybe you are under contract to sell that already. You just set the closing dates on the same day and proceed with the sale of your house. Close on the sale at 10 a.m., close on the buy at noon, and you never have to touch the home equity line. But if you can't get your house sold or that deal falls through and you're, again, willing to carry both loans for a month or two, then what you can do is, hey, the deal just fell through. Okay, that's a pain in the neck. Go find us another buyer. In the meantime, you draw on the equity line and you close on the house that you're looking to buy. So there are, and again, have your people talk to me. There are a bunch of other strategies that are possible to eliminate the, making your offer contingent on the sale of your house. Again, tipping the odds in your favor, improving the other terms besides just price of your offer. Okay, let's talk about the individual perspective. And in terms of running the winning offer playbook, running the plays, executing the strategies that help get your offer accepted, from the individual perspective, the number one thing to do is be prepared. And for those, I'll throw this out as a trivia question. Whose emblem is that right there? Anyone? Christine, you got the Philly special. What do you think about that emblem? Whose emblem is that?
Saints.
What's that?
The
That
Saints.
is, no, it's not the
Boy
New Orleans
Scouts.
Saints. This is not all about football, though it does look like a fleur de lis.
Scouts.
It's the Boy Scouts. Thank you,
Boy
Mario.
Scouts.
It is the Boy Scouts. Yes, and the Boy Scout motto is be prepared. And I love that motto. Those are words to live by. Be prepared. Thank you, Boy Scouts. You changed my life for the better. I never actually belonged to the Boy Scouts, but darn, I love their motto. Okay? Prepare your buyer for the market. Okay? And when I say prepare them, they need to be prepared mentally, they need to be prepared financially, they need to be prepared emotionally. And we're going to cover all of those things. So if you want to win, you got to be prepared in this market. Okay. You can't just, hey, I decided on Saturday morning I'm going to buy a house. I saw something I liked Saturday afternoon and go make an offer. There is some preparation involved. Okay. And your lender, you as the agent, all become involved. Okay. So let's talk about being prepared financially. First thing is, obviously prepare your buyer to make a strong offer. All right. And it really starts with having a nice, complete pre-approval package. All right. I will tell you, and I know I sort of highlighted Harris, my business partner, and Harris is the czar of preparedness for our buyers. We do the pre-approval interview. We ask all the right questions. I'll tell you a story. I had a person came to me the other day, where they got denied their loan. Their lender didn't do a thorough job, didn't thoroughly document the file. The person said, "Hey, where do you work?" "I work for Federal Express." "Great. What do you earn?" "I earn, $78,000 a year." "Great." And they ended up getting, I don't know whether it was a pre-approval or pre-qualification letter, but they got a letter approving them for the loan based on $78,000 in income. Then it gets denied. Then their agent has them talk to me. And what was the real story? The real story was he didn't work directly for American Express. He worked for a subcontractor that delivered for American Express. And that subcontractor hired this person as a subcontractor. And this person was a 1099. So yes, they earned $78,000 in revenue for their 1099 business. And they backed out all these expenses, including the gas and wear and tear on their truck and so on and so forth. So at the end, the $78,000 was a lot less. We fixed it with a cosigner. But look, and the fact of the matter is that was a lender, whether they were inexperienced, I don't know, going too fast, being careless, I don't know. But I know anytime someone tells me that they're a driver of any kind, I work for UPS, I work for American Express, I work for Flying Tigers. That's actually a delivery service out there. I know as an experienced loan officer that many of those companies have this, in addition to their own employees, this network of subcontractors. Okay. And it's funny, you see yourself that I came out to go to work yesterday morning and there was someone in my driveway. There was a black Toyota Camry in my driveway. And I'm like, "Oh, hi, who are you?" It was someone delivering for Amazon. So anyway, there's a network of subcontractors. Drivers can also be, independent drivers. Sometimes they're paid by the mile, sometimes they're paid by the load. You need to know, you need to ask the right questions. And it's not just truck drivers. There's lots of other occupations where many are self-employed, many are subcontractors, many are paid piece rate. various forms of commission. You have to recognize those things, ask the right question, but even if you don't ask the right question, always get the paper, always get the pay stub, get the W-2, 1099 form, the tax return, so that you can sniff out exactly what's going on with that person's employment, so that you can do an accurate income calculation, a full underwrite, a full underwrite at pre-approval. Look, there's just no excuse not to. There's no reason not to. There's every reason in the world to do that, and lenders don't. I guess they want to go more quickly. I know they get impatient. I will tell you, buyers will at times get impatient with us, and this is a conversation that you should be having with them. Um, I will. Oh boy, it looks like you're self-employed. There's something going on here with your income. Send me your tax return. And here's where the impatience part comes. Send me your pay stubs. Um, People don't see these things and like they used to. And I know I'm about to sound like an old man here, like this generation today, but the world we live in today is very much a paperless world, which means I will ask someone for a pay statement and they'll say, I don't get one. I'm on direct deposit. Well, you get one. It's just being posted on a website somewhere. And you need to talk to your HR people, get the username, the password, the PIN, whatever it is you need, and get me that and go in there and get me that. It's not as easy as it used to be. It's not like you bring a paper pay statement home every Friday and throw it in a drawer. We can go rummage through it and provide it. You got to go out there and get it. And, it's something I do maybe once a year. And of course, I've forgotten the password or it forces me to change the password. It's tough. I'll tell you this, tax returns. I ask for tax returns and I will get all kinds of things. I'll ask for a tax return. I'll get a W-2 form. I'll ask for a tax return and get the acknowledgement that they e-filed a tax return. I don't get the actual 1040 form. And I'm digressing here a bit, but this is what you need to tell your buyer is be prepared and be patient. The things that we ask for, we still kind of exist in this world that doesn't quite recognize the paperless world. Hey, I get this acknowledgement that you filed a tax return, but I need to see the actual 1040 form with each individual line so I can do calculations. And what I came to learn, like, why is no one able to send me, or so many people not able to send me their 1040? Why don't they recognize that that's their actual tax return? And then I actually sat with someone and helped them do a tax return, not a client, just a friend, do it. I think it was in TurboTax. And it was literally a questionnaire. What's in box number 7 on your W-2 form? And you fill out a questionnaire. And at the end, you press a button to transmit your tax return to the IRS. You never see the form 1040. There's a little button down in the corner where you can download it as a PDF, but you don't have to do that. You're done. Your tax return, in data form just went to the IRS. And you never actually see, save, retain, know that you have a Form 1040. So what I'm telling you is this can be a bit of a struggle in today's world. We're still looking for the papers. You're living in a paperless world. So let your buyers know, be patient, follow the guidance of your loan officer. They will get you to the finish line, but get that pre-approval package complete. Because when it's really complete, then that gives you that advantage of speed. You can get to closing more quickly if that's what's necessary. We're going to talk a little bit later about what I call the lender love letter, which is me calling a listing agent and letting them know I have every last shred of paper. We're closing on time. So you just tell me when and I'm there and there won't be a delay. And look, and lender reputation helps as well. So a complete pre-approval package. I know I spent a lot of time on that, but it's really important. All documents fully underwritten. There is never an excuse not to do that. Okay. Look, some people are so clean, the loans underwrite themselves, but that is the exception. It is not the rule. Most people have little bits of untidiness, sometimes a great deal of untidiness in their employment and asset picture. And you need to clean it up. Issues need to be identified and they need to be resolved. And you want to do that in the pre-approval stage. It's not something that you want to be doing once you're under contract, under the gun, with dates to hit and a million other things to worry about. So, be prepared. It is so important. Look, it makes your life a lot easier in addition to increasing the odds of getting that offer accepted and possibly saving you some money and getting you into the house you really love. Okay. So get the issues identified, get them resolved. Look, a lender with a strong reputation, and I'm going to say this, and I know it's self serving, and it is. Um, your buyer, to increase the odds of getting their offer accepted, to potentially getting it accepted at a lower price than perhaps someone else might, it helps to work with a lender with a strong reputation. Okay. You people know me, but you're not the only ones. Oftentimes, the listing agent, I hear it. It's like, hey, I feel really comfortable about this because it's Bob Fenster, it's Harris Shechtman, and it's Green Tree Mortgage on that pre-approval. So I know we're closing on time. I, I know there won't be mortgage issues. Okay. That matters a lot. And think about it and don't be shy. You want to win too. Okay. This isn't just about your buyer winning and getting it a little bit less expensively and getting the house they really love. This is about you getting to your commission more quickly, more efficiently, better serving your buyer because they're getting into the house that they love at potentially a better price. Okay. This benefits both of you, all of you. Your interests are inexorably linked here. And you need to let your buyers know that. And if there are two offers being presented with identical terms, and one is from Green Tree Mortgage and the other is from, I don't know, Loan Depot or Quicken Loans, you as the listing agent, which one are you going to accept? Well, you're going to accept the one that's more of a sure thing. It's the sure thing discount. Well, the Green Tree Mortgage is a lot more of a sure thing than that online lender. They unfortunately don't enjoy a strong reputation of getting the closing on time or getting there at all in many cases. So the lender with the strong reputation helps save you, gets you, improves the odds of you getting into the house that you really love. Okay. So, and again, and I hope it's me. I really hope that you'll send your folks to me. But if it's not, you should be working with a local lender with a strong reputation in this market. Okay. And here's, comfort has a value, and it truly does. The more comfortable the seller is with the lender, the lower the potential price they would have to pay to win. Whether you are competing against an online lender or whether you are competing against cash and you're trying to narrow that gap. 10% discount for cash is the average. So, 10% premium to you, but you can minimize that. You can get away with 8 or 7 or 4. Okay. You want to get a better deal, and you get the better deal if the lender's more respected and the seller feels more comfortable with them. Preparing mentally. Okay. This is important. And yes, this is the part where our discussion veers off the rails and I go to the spreadsheet. But being prepared mentally, one of the things that I love to do is the pre-offer huddle. And the pre-offer huddle is where, and it's a Zoom call. That's my preferred way to do it. Okay. It's a Zoom call where we get together as a team. We are a team. Your buyer is on the team. You are on the team, the agent. Me as the lender, I'm on the team. And what we're going to do is we are going to get on a Zoom and we're going to talk about the numbers and we're going to talk about the strategy. Okay. And the way that it works is this. Let me see where this next here. Let's go back to this. So let's just kind of walk through it. We are going to ask questions like, from the agent, you're going to give us the intel that you have. Was there an open house? How many people came through? That is a pretty good indicator that, you, uh, someone should do a study of that. How many people come through the open house on the weekend? And on average, what percentage of those people make offers? If, you know, 27 people come through the open house on Sunday, what does that translate into? 5, 6 offers on Monday? But you probably have an intuitive sense of that. How many people came through the open house? How popular is this house? And how appealing is it? Because you were there too. How many offers is that likely to translate to? Okay, so you have an idea of what you're up against. Okay, hopefully hopefully you go to open houses with your buyers. I know that's hard to do, depending on the number of buyers, the number of open houses that they're going to. But hopefully you've had an opportunity to have a conversation with a listing agent, and you might get a sense of the terms that they're looking for. And by that I mean, um, are they concerned about the CO? Is the seller in a state? Do they have no money for repairs? Those little tidbits of information go a long way. If you know something about the seller's circumstance, that they may tell you overtly, these are some of the things we're going to be looking for in the offer, strictly as is. But you also might pick up some tidbits about where their pain points are and how you can soothe them with terms in your offer. Okay. Um, and then you, as the agent in the huddle, when we're all talking, will give us your opinion. How high do you think this bid is likely to go? Okay. Where does this have to go to win? And then, moreover, because we're escalating very often above, say, ask price, um, what's it likely to appraise for? I can look at it and see if I can get the appraisal waiver. But if, we don't, what is this thing likely to appraise for? We're going to 550, but the comps kind of speak to 525. They kind of speak to 530. Um, you know, we may have to pay something, bid something that's over what it's going to appraise for. And how are we going to game plan around that? And we'll talk about that and we'll model it in just a moment. All right. So working as a team, me as the lender, what am I going to do? Okay. I'm going to show you here's where this is likely to escalate to. Here's what that means for your monthly payment. Here's what that means for your funds to close. These are the really important numbers for a home buyer. Okay. As I like to call them, these are the numbers you have to live with. You have to live with that monthly payment every month. You have to live with the fact that you took all this money out of your bank account, you know, to put toward the down payment and the closing costs on this house. Okay, you've got to live with those numbers. Okay, and me as the lender, I'm going to show them to you. And think about this. I know this says be prepared mentally, but a lot of this is about be prepared emotionally, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer. Be prepared emotionally, because we went to the house. The asking price was 500, and now we're talking about a 550 bid to win it. The emotion is, oh my God, why am I paying so much? What is that doing to my monthly payment? And all the negative emotions, let's call them, all the concerned emotions about what we're doing can cloud your judgment versus the pre-offer huddle. And I'll show you what it looks like. Give me a moment while this, come on, baby, load up. I'm showing you as the buyer. I guess I'll continue as me. Come on, baby. Or maybe not. All right. Hopefully this doesn't want to load, but I'm showing you as the buyer. There we go. Just exactly what that monthly payment is going to look like. If we feel like we have to go to 649, and I've loaded all the data for the house. This is, what the annual tax bill is. Here's what your monthly payment looks like. Here's what your funds to close look like. In this case, at a 20% down payment. We escalated. Those are the real numbers. How do you feel about those? And that's important because they may say, I just don't love the house that much. And that's fine. They've seen the real number, they're making the right choice. They're not reacting to it emotionally. Okay. They've seen the house. They're seeing the numbers and they're like, we love it enough. We love it enough. We're willing to go there. Whoops, I'm not sure what happened to my screen there, but we're willing to go to that 48, 46. Maybe it's right on budget for them. Maybe it's a little bit over budget, but they've seen the house. They know what they want. They know what they need, and they're willing to go there. They've made a good, sound decision because they saw the real number. And oh, by the way, that's deadly accurate. Okay. That's their monthly payment and their funds to close. We make sure of that. They're making a good decision. Your competition is probably not doing that. Your competition is probably reacting more emotionally, which may cause them to make a crazy high bid or, drop out when perhaps they shouldn't, when the house was truly on budget for them. Okay. I want people to make the right decisions. And you make the right decisions by seeing the right numbers without reacting. Let's see what it is. Maybe this particular house has a really reasonable tax bill, which makes that monthly payment, right on budget for you. Maybe interest rates have dropped a bit. We've been in a pretty good trend recently. Maybe that brings it in line. So there's a lot of things that you may not have considered, like, oh my God, we're paying this much for the house. Let's look at the numbers. Let's see what that means in dollars and cents. And that exercise really helps prepare people mentally and emotionally to go out and make the winning bid on the house that they really love. Again, improving the odds. You're showing less houses, to get more sales. And that's the name of the game. You need to be efficient. We've always needed to be efficient, but in this market, more so than ever. Okay. So I think we talked about that. We're going to model what a price escalation might look like. Appraisal gap. Let's talk about that because appraisal gap is not necessarily always what you think. And I will show you. So notice in my fancy schmancy spreadsheet here, we've got, we're paying $649 for the house. We're making a 20% down payment. And your funds to close are going to be $146,538. Ooh, that's all the money we have. We really love the house. We're not against an appraisal gap, but we don't have any more money than that. Well, congratulations. You may not need to bring any more money to closing. In fact, I can tell you, you for sure don't need to bring more money to closing to close an appraisal gap. Let's say, I'll go a little bit crazy. Let's say, you're at 649 and your agent, the comps, everything seems to tell me 600, 610. Well, let's say 600 to be safe. So if this house appraises for 600, and you can see what I'm doing here, I put the appraisal in at 600, you're making up a $49,000 appraisal gap, which is a huge appraisal gap. That's effectively waiving the appraisal. Now what has happened, you notice down here, you're still approving for the loan. You haven't increased by 1 penny down here your cash to close. It was 146,538. It is still 146,538. Here's what has changed. You are still paying $649 for the house. You are still making a 20% down payment and borrowing $519,200. We as the lender are saying the value of that house is $600, the lower of the down payment, the lower of the agreed to sale price or the appraised value. So we're going to lend you the $519,200, which is 86.5% of the value of the house. That's what we'll still lend you, but our loan to value ratio is 86.5, which means you don't need more down payment money. You do need to pay mortgage insurance for a few years. And here's the mortgage insurance, $82.21. So are you willing to write that appraisal gap in? Look, it may appraise, but if it doesn't, In the worst case, your monthly payment has gone up by $82 a month. I know every dollar counts, but again, how much do you love the house? How well does it suit your needs and your wants? And if you're willing to do that, you know that you can put that $49,000 appraisal gap into the offer. Okay. And people do. So again, without seeing the pre offer huddle, without doing that exercise, the public does not know that. They don't know that they don't really know what an appraisal gap is. They think it's just more money out of their pocket, but not necessarily. Money out of their pocket at closing. You can and will often do make it up with mortgage insurance. And I will tell you, and I've done whole classes just about the appraisal gap insurance, if you will. Anyone that's making a down payment greater than the minimum down payment for the loan program, which for a conventional loan, first-time home buyer, minimum down payment is 3%. Repeat home buyer, 5%. Anyone making a down payment greater than that has the ability to make up appraisal gap, not with more money down, but with a little bit more mortgage insurance. And that's really important to know because that appraisal gap is often a piece of the puzzle that gets your offer accepted, that pulls you up to possibly even with the cash offer, that pulls you ahead of the others, tipping the odds in favor of approval, making your life, your sales operation a lot more efficient. Okay. I love the pre-offer huddle. It has helped so many people. You should be doing it if the lender that you work with can't or won't. Um, switch lenders. I mean, this is a team. You work as a team, and lender is a big part of the team. Okay. I may not be the quarterback, but I'm like the offensive coordinator. You know, I can really help in putting together a winning offer. Paying the transfer tax, that's always a nice little sweetener. Um, in the state of New Jersey, the law doesn't say that the seller has to pay it, so a buyer can offer to pay it. Okay, being prepared emotionally, and we've talked about this a lot. Um, getting prepared emotionally is really a matter of sort of clearing the emotions and let's have a good, cold, hard look at the numbers. How much do you love the house emotionally? Let's put a number to it and see, are you willing to go there in terms of monthly payment? And maybe you're still on budget. It's like, wow, that's not as much as I thought. That happens. Again, clearing the emotions, seeing the numbers and saying, you know what, that lines up. I love the house enough. We can do it. Okay. Come on. There we go. So the buyer, the actual numbers, I always say this, real numbers, it is empowering. And to the extent that you're up against competition that's not getting that sort of live analysis of the numbers, that real time dollars and cents modeling of the various terms. We talked about the transfer tax. Here, watch this in this little thing. See here, the transfer tax. If I say, let's pay it, boom, what just happened? Now it's a $649,000 house. That's $5,704 more that you would be paying at closing. Are you willing to do that? Ooh, yeah, I love the house that much. Again, actual numbers are empowering. A real live dollars and cents modeling of the terms you're proposing that are tipping the odds in favor of your approval, in favor of your acceptance. You can see it for real, and it's empowering. And you'll beat your competition with this because look, I know, I hear all the time, they're not doing this. Okay, they're not doing this. Work with a lender who does. Okay, look, oftentimes they're still on budget. It's not all the time, but I know in Pennsylvania there seems to be less variation in taxes from house to house within a price range, but in Jersey there's a lot of variation, and you might stumble across a house with a really a lower than average tax bill, and you're looking in the 650 range, and boom, oh, that house, even though I escalated, that monthly payment is still on budget, maybe a little below budget. Okay, their monthly payment, their funds to close. Again, we want to really see the numbers. Really seeing the numbers is what becomes empowering. Okay, and then this is sort of mixing the emotions with the actual numbers, and that is how much do you love the house, and therefore how far are you willing to go? And look, oftentimes the answer is I won't go there. I mean, if 649 and a $50,000 appraisal gap is what it takes, eh, maybe 649, but not the appraisal gap. Maybe the appraisal gap, but not the, you know, so they see the real numbers and they can compare it to just how well this particular house serves them mentally and emotionally. All right. Good, sound decisions, happy customers. Incidentally, th- look, this is the kind of service, this process, this helping them, this empowering them, enlightening them is the kind of service that, number one, makes them see the value in you as the real estate agent that introduced them to the loan officer that's helping them this much. And it also leads to referrals down the road, okay? Because people talk. And if they're at a big bank, if they're with an online lender, they are not getting this. They're just not. And to the extent that their friend who's also looking for a house might be getting frustrated, and feel like maybe they're working with the wrong people, that person, yeah, that could be a referral to you. That could be a person that you could be working with. Because incidentally, that buyer agency agreement that everyone signs has an escape. Just sign that page, get out, come here, work with the agent that has the team that gets your offer accepted, or at least, makes you know that everything possible is being done to get your offer accepted. Okay. All right. So we're really sort of out of time here. I'm going to skip the very last part, but I do want to go through this. Talk a little bit about executing the strategy. And I alluded to this earlier. I call it the lender love letter. Um, and by that, I mean this. And I will tell you, this is something that a lot of lenders won't do. There is a law out there, the privacy law. It's the Graham-Leach-Bliley Act that basically says I'm not allowed to share information from someone's mortgage application unless they give me permission. And a lot of lenders don't take the unless part. So, I've heard of lenders that won't even send the pre-approval letter to the agent. They'll only send it to the buyer to forward to the agent. I always ask for this permission. And it goes like this. Please help me to help you. And look, there's certain things I can't divulge, particulars about, your income and your bank accounts and things like that. But there are things that I can talk to your agent about and a listing agent about, okay? That I have a complete file, that the credit score is very good, that, and look, it really almost doesn't matter what your credit score is. I've put everything together. It's fully underwritten. When it's all put together and it's fully underwritten, and I've documented where the money for closing is coming from, and I've documented the income with the employer, um, I'm done. And whether you're a 659 credit score or a 759 credit score, at that point, it doesn't matter. You're both underwritten, you're both going to closing. And I think an overemphasis is put on that. Yes, you need a certain credit score to qualify for the mortgage. And yes, that credit score will affect the interest rate on the mortgage. Once the underwriting process is done, the 659 is absolutely as good as the 759. Okay. And, there's lots of 759s out there that are self-employed or have other issues, about other aspects of the underwriting process. So, again, the lender love letter is really about this. That agent that I'm calling, that listing agent may know me personally. If they don't know me, they know Green Tree Mortgage. Okay. I'm letting them know we've got a nice complete file, meaning we're closing on time. All right. Another thing that happens, and this is important when I do this lender love letter, you'd be surprised the intel that I get sometimes. I've had agents divulge what the other offer is. Oh, the high offer is, 738 right now. Oh, okay. Good to know. Um, I don't think they're really breaking the law because I'm not technically another real estate agent that they're talking to, but they will, sometimes they just sorry, I'm going to say it. Sometimes they just start to run their mouth. And I hear things about their concerns. I had one house was in Gloucester City, and the agent just went off about how the all the neighbors had told the seller how difficult the CO process was going to be. And I know that CO inspector's got a tough reputation. But I'm like, I'm taking that back to this agent and this on the buy side and this buyer and letting them know. And they'll put that provision in. They did win the bid. I don't know if that made the difference, but it sure didn't hurt. And by the way, the CO went fine on that deal. So I may get some additional intel when I make that call. Not always, probably the majority of times I don't, but 25, 30% of the time I do. I get a nugget that helps you get that offer accepted. And look, and that's important. Every little bit helps. If it's the CO thing, it could have cost some money. It ended up not costing a dime, and we may not have been the high offer, but we allayed that fear that the seller had about the CO. We got the deal. All right. Now, you as the agent, do not be afraid to do what I call the agent love letter. Okay. Give that listing agent your bio. Hopefully, look, I know a lot of you know each other. So, and hopefully you have the right reputation in the marketplace, which is you're an easy co-op to work with. Because I hear it all the time. There are people without such great reputations, and maybe their offers aren't getting accepted because no one wants to deal with that. And look, same thing goes for a listing agent. Maybe I don't want to go so high on this bid because I know this agent and they're just going to be, breaking my chops about every other thing. But give them your bio. Let them know your resume. If you're full time, let them know I am full time. I am responsive. I am reasonable. Okay. My clients trust me. My clients follow my guidance. Okay. I will help make this a smooth transaction. Look, clearly, I'm going to protect my buyer's interests, but I am not going to go overboard, and I'm going to, keep them, on the straight and narrow path, and not let them go overboard. And look, people, it's easy to go overboard. It's easy to get really emotional and get defensive in these transactions. It's a big deal for people. But to the extent that you let the listing agent know that you're a professional and you've got control over it, and you will make this thing go. Look, not every deal can go smoothly. Many deals have issues, deservedly so, not things made up. But to the extent that you can get through those issues smoothly, more smoothly than a lesser agent, tell them so. Toot your own horn. Okay, because you're a part of the value as well. And don't be afraid to say so, and don't be afraid to speak up if you can get that listing agent on the line. Okay. um, I'm gonna skip this part only because of time. We're about 10 minutes over. I'll bring some. I can maybe do another class on this, but let's let's call it a playbook. Let's call it a practice there, right? This was the playbook. Okay, practice is over. Everybody hit the showers, drink your Gatorade. I do hope that you will join us for. I'm slipping through this. Will join us for uh, the CE classes. Oh, there we are. There's Harris and myself. Please, August 28th, 27th and 28th, we're going to be in Cherry Hill doing the CE classes. Please join us. Please do think of me when you have a buyer. If you like the strategies that you see here, look, I'm a lender giving a presentation to agents, and yes, this is heavy in mortgage related strategies, but they're valid. Harris and I have been doing them. We've been doing them for almost 2 years now, and this market really got intense, became a really intense seller's market. We've been honing these things. This is about you being more efficient, closing a higher percentage of, getting a higher percentage of the offers you make accepted. This is about you providing better value to your buyers. And I just simply cannot emphasize enough, and I'm sure you're all hearing it, how important it is to show value. You have to articulate it to get that signature on the buyer agency agreement, and then you have to deliver it to keep that person loyal with you, paying your commission at the settlement table if necessary. Okay, that is it. Next week, I was actually planning to take the week off, but and I'd be anxious to hear feedback in the chat. Next week, by popular demand, I'm actually going to do a class, and I'm hoping to bring a real estate attorney on as well to talk about the structure of offers under the NAR settlement. Um, you know, what do you do with buyer agent commissions? What can be on the offer? Seller concessions? How does that factor in? How can you structure it, and how does it affect the mortgage potentially? And you may, I've heard that a lot of misconceptions and a lot of confusion between closing costs and buyer agent commissions, and how they get handled not only on the offer but in the structure of the mortgage, and what can and can't be part of buyer paid closing or seller paid closing costs. But we will talk about that. We will clear the air. We will clear the confusion. You will be a post-NAR settlement juggernaut when we are done. So join us next week on Next Top Agent. I will see you then.